Hello, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Doyle Heffley. Today we will be discussing Mission 22, an organization that helps prevent veteran suicide. In May, the family of Michael Wargo, a Carbon County veteran who lost his battle with PTSD in 2013, joined me at the Capitol for a service dedicating a monument to Michael and recognizing the work of Mission 22. On today's program, I'd like to share footage of the ceremony as well as my remarks from the House floor in support of House Resolution 349, which recognizes Mission 22. I would now invite Chairman of the Senate Veteran Affairs Committee and Emergency Preparedness Committee, Senator Randy Vlahovic, for a few remarks.
As a law enforcement officer for 27 years, I've seen many things that one should never have to see. And every day, our servicemen and women who are on the front lines of war are regularly exposed to far worse. And after they return to the civilian world, society has traditionally assumed that they can now continue with their life as it was when they had left. But for many, that transition is not an easy one. But as medical research has developed, society is much more in tune today with issues such as depression and post-traumatic stress disorder, otherwise known as PTSD. Our House and Senate Veterans Affairs and Emergency Preparedness Committee are working on legislation regarding PTSD for first responders. I applaud Mission 22 and others on the front line of fighting the war against veteran suicide. You have heard that every day 22 veterans commit suicide. We know this can be prevented, and it first starts with awareness and then action. And if you're on Facebook, you have probably seen videos of those doing 22 push-ups. Well, I hate to admit it, but I'm not going to drop and do 22 today. But I'm going to thank Mission 22 for seizing this issue and doing something about it. And I will try to remember to do my 22 seconds a day and remember these people. That I will try to do.
As chairman of the House Veteran Affairs and Emergency Preparedness Committee, I commend Representative Heffley for his strong support of our veterans and for holding this important event today. Veteran suicide is one of the great issues of our time, and it's hard for us to understand why someone coming home would fear they should celebrate coming home and not have a fear of it. As all who pass this memorial honoring the life and dedication of Michael Wargo, may the focus be on the responsibility each of us has to our veteran community. Veteran suicide is a true tragedy that is becoming more prevalent, yet the stigma still exists. Together with other members of the committee, we work closely with the veteran service organizations and the veteran community, doing everything we can to support these men and women in uniform. But are we doing enough? Of course, the support they receive cannot end when they return home. It is critical that the care continues to help them fight the overwhelming effects of post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. We cannot accept the many sacrifices of our veterans that they make without also being there to help them in their time of need.
Here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we have nearly 900,000 veterans. We're the fourth largest veterans population in the nation. Our concern for our veterans is huge, and we need to put the stress on their feelings and their adjustment issues as they react and an ever-changing environment as they come back from war overseas and as they separate from the military. Of course, in the military, we have different phases of care for those that are still in uniform, and those that are still serving an active duty are generally at work every single day as an active duty service member. They have access every day to their wingman on the air side, a battle buddy on the Army side, and all the services call it a different matter, but they have their comrades at arms that they spend every single day with when you're on active duty. And they deploy and they serve in those combat zones and they serve together with those battle buddies, return home with those battle buddies and are able to relate their experiences and generally have a better adjustment rate. But we still see problems. We still see suicides on active duty. Our veterans programs, we relate this number, the 22, Mission 22, named after that number, for the number of suicides that we have every day through our veterans. Of those 22, the federal VA will report that 16 of those veterans, 16 of the 22 that commit suicide every day are not registered with the VA. They're not registered with the federal VA, with the state VA. They're not currently receiving any programs or any counseling from the VA. That is just too large a number for us to fathom, and it's too many people that have no contact with all of the resources that we have to try to help these veterans adjust to civilian life. We need to combat those 16. We need to find those veterans, those 900,000 veterans that we have in the Commonwealth, and we need to make sure that they are registered and they are aware of the programs and they do have a veteran battle buddy that they still can talk to if they are having adjustment issues. So that is our quest here at the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, to find every single one of those veterans in the Commonwealth, to register them, to get them to go online, hit our registry button so that we can get them registered. We want to get them to a veteran service or officer so that they can be registered and then they can have access to all of these programs that are out there, such as the 800 line, 1-800-273-TALK, the Veteran Crisis Line. That line, since it's been incepted, has had nearly 3 million calls to that line. And dispatchers on that line have dispatched emergency services almost 73,000 times because it was that important at that point of that call to get that veteran some immediate help. These are the ways that we're able to combat this and help our veterans. So please help me reach out to every single one of our veterans here in the Commonwealth. Let's get them registered. Let's make sure they know what the resources that they have earned through their services are. Let's get each one of our veterans a battle buddy that they can talk with and relate with and help them through shared experiences get through the program. Again, I would like to also thank the Wargo family for attending and for shining this spotlight, using their son as a beacon to shine this spotlight on this epidemic throughout the Commonwealth and throughout the nation.
The question I get asked most is, what is Mission 22? What does Mission 22 do? So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Mission 22, Mission 22 is a not-for-profit organization committed to curbing the epidemic of veteran suicide. And there's a lot of ways we do that. One of the ways we do that is, we raise awareness, because if you don't know, there's nothing you can do. If you don't have the knowledge of it, there's nothing you can do to try to solve the problem. So this silhouette is a continuation of our War at Home Memorial. And, as a founder, as a board member, I get to take a lot of credit for the things that Mission 22 has done. But the reality is that the credit goes to the people who have done things like this. People have made things like this happen. And certainly this technically is just a piece of steel. But what gives it power is the people, the family, and the friends of the families who have had the courage to share their loved one's story and allow us to share their story. And the leaders of communities like this one who have had the courage to place this beacon in the Capitol to say that this community will not allow this issue to go unnoticed. So I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to be here. It's my honor, it's my pleasure, and thank you for all your support. Thank you.
I'm here to support Mike and Sally because they're part of my family. Both of our sons honorably served this country in the United States Army. Mike and Sally's son Michael died in 2013 at the age of 36. My son Wes was also 36 when he died in 2011 while serving in Baghdad, Iraq. and both of our sons died by suicide. Sally and I were introduced through a wonderful organization for the families called TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. But TAPS is more than an organization. It is a caring community of over 70,000 men, women, and children who have experienced the death of a loved one who has served in our military. A key to understanding the strength of TAPS is to look at the founder and the matriarch of our family, Bonnie Carroll. Bonnie's warm smile, her welcoming presence, and her encouraging words greet her fellow survivors at the various TAPS programs and events. She's with us when we run the Marine Corps Marathon. She offers gentle hugs during the solemn events on Memorial Day weekend in our nation's capital. Bonnie gives us courage and hope because she intimately understands the grief journey. Bonnie's husband, Army Brigadier General Tom Carroll, died in a C-12 plane crash in November 1992. There were 7 other soldiers who also perished in that tragic accident. The 8 surviving families came together as a community to comfort and support each other through their grief journey. Bonnie's experience after the loss of her husband inspired her to investigate all the resources available to support families of the fallen. She discovered the need for a military survivor peer support network, which was not offered by the military, the government, or any other organization. Her belief in the effectiveness of peer support inspired her to begin TAPS in 1994. The heart of TAPS is the Peer Mentor Program. A peer mentor, like myself, is a surviving military parent, spouse, sibling, or other family member who is ready to serve and at least 18 months after the death of their loved one. Sally asked me to share one story about one of the important people at TAPS. She came to TAPS 11 years ago after her spouse died by suicide. Kim presented her statement last year in May before the Committee on Veterans Affairs, House of Representatives. I'm going to read what she said that day. My name is Kim Ruaco, and I came to TAPS seeking support in 2006, following the death of my husband, Marine Corps Major John Ruaco. John died by suicide after suffering for years with untreated depression and PTSD. He was an attack helicopter pilot who flew 75 combat missions in Iraq, and he died 3 months after he returned. When John died, I was overcome with emotions and questions. I was desperate to talk to others who had experienced this kind of loss. I had a lot of hard questions, like, how do I tell my 2 boys, who were 8 and 10, that their dad made it safely back from combat and then took his own life? I had questions about spirituality and increased risk for myself and my children. And I had a need to know why someone dies by suicide. I realized that a death by suicide required a different kind of grief journey than other military deaths. Kim found the support she needed through TAPS, and she is now the Chief External Relations Officer for Suicide Prevention and Postvention at TAPS. Mike, Sally, and I have been supported in our grief journey through Kim, Bonnie, our peer mentors, and the many other individuals who who serve with our TAPS family. We stand here today strengthened by our community's support, and we offer our gratitude to all those people who have walked with us in this difficult journey.
At Valor, we deal with the PTSD problem every day. And over the past 5 years, we have worked with Pennsylvania veterans and innovative doctors, and right here in the Keystone State have built a new way to deal with PTSD. We don't quite see PTSD the way others do. We see mitigating factors from toxic exposures in service affecting the brain. We see social conflict between taking our nation's heroes who will work 20 hours a day at risk of their own life without eating, without sleeping, for a cause, and bring them home to a society where things are much more it's all good, and where people get upset if they're asked to stay 10 minutes late at work, and that causes a rub at home. The if we make mistakes, people die mentality of service is hard for them often to let go. We help them with that. The anxiety and depression that can come from survivor's guilt and traumatic events, we try to help them find some closure with that. And we often hear about a lack of direction and loss of purpose from leaving the service where everybody's on the same page and giving way together. And we try to help them get their life back on track, building a life plan. And we have seen a lot of success with that. We've partnered with other agencies like Healing Waters to give some stress management tools in between, and agencies that train service dogs to provide some continuity of therapeutic feelings. But we're very proud to say that we have about 135 graduates now of our PTSD program, and they're all alive. And so we're doing our best we can to represent Pennsylvania in the war at home. And we hope that if anybody out there knows of a vet struggling with the War to Peace readjustment, that you will let us know, and we will try to encourage them to come in. And we hope that this marks a turning point for the state. We would like to hope that the state would make this color an official color for PTSD awareness in the state, much like this statue. The people that see it, maybe we can get all across the state where when people see this color, they think about the War to Peace readjustment and veterans struggling with PTSD. And I thank you for letting us come here today. And we're very proud of the efforts of Mission 22, so I want to congratulate them.
And special thanks to Representative Doyle Heffley for helping us make this happen. I want to speak a little bit about our son, Michael. He graduated from Lehighton High School in 1994, National Honor Society. He went to Philadelphia College of Pharmacy and Science. He wanted to be a doctor, but he fell in love, and he didn't want to devote another 8 years of his life to education. He had a great life ahead of him. Everything was going great. He was a teacher. He changed his career to teach biology and chemistry instead of going on to the medical field.
9/11 happened.
Then 9/11 happened. Michael felt compelled to join the U.S. Army. He spent 10 months in Afghanistan and seen things that nobody should have to see. Michael had terrific survivor guilt that he survived, and 10 of his best buddies that he bunked with died. Michael came home in 2005, and we were so grateful. Our son came back from war. He was alive. He wasn't shot. He wasn't missing any limbs. It was just a wonderful day in Fort Drum, New York in 2005. We didn't know what was going on inside Michael. We didn't know until it was too late. Michael's life changed when he came back. He suffered for 8 years with PTSD. He never talked about it. He never complained about it. He never reported it to the Veterans Administration or anything like that. He didn't seek help. The day he died, he left us a 4.5-hour video explaining why he had to die and what he's seen in Afghanistan. And at the end of the video, he said this. He says, "Mom and Dad, please don't say that I had PTSD. He said, I looked into it, and there's no cure for it anyhow. He says, please don't say that I had PTSD because it just gives soldiers a bad name. We need to do more. We need to erase the stigma of PTSD that is considered a weakness. We need more help. We need to bring it to awareness. We have to have our veterans reach out for help when they need help. We just can't go on our way and not worry about it, hope somebody else takes up the pledge. By giving us that video, we used that video, we took it to a forensic psychiatrist. He wrote us up a 4.5-page diagnosis, and between the 4.5-hour video and the diagnosis, we did prove to the Veterans Administration they did rule that Michael's suicide was service-related. So Brianna, his 6-year-old daughter at the time, is getting full benefits. She doesn't have a daddy, but her daddy is still taking care of her. And it's our mission to bring awareness to PTSD and to suicide, and that's one of the reasons we created this monument with the help of Mission 22 and other organizations, again, to bring awareness that we need to stop this. We need to start talking about it. We need to do more instead of just letting someone else worry about it.
22 a day is unacceptable. If we don't work as a community to stop this, to reach out, we need to reach out and tell the veterans we're here, we'll listen, we'll help them and the families any way we can, or it's going to continue. And I won't let that happen to another family, because we need to stand together. We sent them off to war, and now we have to bring them home and fix them.
We train them so well to go over and fight for our country, but I think we let them down when they come back.
Yes, we do.
We just give them a quick exit interview, and they're not going to give you right answers at that point. They just say, yes, 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 I'm fine. They want to get home to their families and their friends. What we need to do is we need to follow up 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line, and ask them the same questions. Ask the questions to their spouses and their children and their parents to see how they're really, really doing. Then you'll get the true answers, not just a quick exit interview when they came home. You probably heard these numbers before, but since Desert Storm, we've lost 6,000 of our best men and women killed in action. 6,000. The same time period, we've lost 120,000 that have survived war and came home and took their own life. 6,000, 120,000. One is too many, but we need to do something. It's just not acceptable. We need to stop this. Need some more programs. We need to. I don't know. We need to
Support the families.
We need to support the families, and we need to reach out and let the veterans know that there is help out there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
all for coming.
Thank you all for coming.
I just want to mention Mission 22, the 22 silhouettes that were created. If you Google Mission 22 and go on their website, it really gives you all a lot of information about the program and ways that you can volunteer and donate and help out. There were 3 heroes from Pennsylvania that were part of this monument: Nicholas Rodriguez, Michelle Langhurst, and Michael Wargo. Mr. Speaker, I rise to thank my colleagues for their unanimous support of House Resolution 349, which recognizes the efforts of Mission 22, an organization that helps with suicide prevention among veterans. Last summer, Mission 22 created a memorial that was displayed in Bandera, Texas, to honor our heroes who fight overseas. The silhouettes of 20 heroes from across the country were chosen to be made into monuments signifying the 20 veteran suicides per day. Specialist Michael Wargo, who resided in Carbon County, was one of those heroes. Michael joined the Army after 9/11 and spent 10 months in Afghanistan. During his deployment, he saw 10 of his close friends die. He had terrific survivor guilt. Michael returned home in 2005, but was a different man. His life fell apart. He changed jobs frequently and even walked away from his marriage and 18-month-old daughter. Michael suffered for 8 years until he took his own life on May 20th, 2013. Before he died, Michael left his parents a 4.5-hour video explaining why he had to die. They used that video in a diagnosis from a forensic psychologist as proof that Michael suffered from PTSD, and the VA agreed and declared Michael's death was service-related. Michael and Sally Wargo attended the unveiling of the memorial, which featured their son Michael last fall in Texas. There were 3 heroes honored that day from Pennsylvania: Michael Wargo from Carbon County, Nicholas Rodriguez from Northampton, and Michelle Langhorst from Pittsburgh. 20 monuments that signified Mission 22 Memorial, instead of the 22 because the government had said that the suicide rate per day had dropped to 20 instead of 22. However, many believe the real number is closer to 80 per day. As a comparison, since Desert Storm, we have lost 6,000 of our best men and women who were killed in combat. During that same time period, we have lost 120,000 who have died here at home by suicide. That is why the title, War at Home Memorial, was chosen for the monument. These brave men and women fought and survived a war overseas, but lost a war at home. I invite you to join me today in the Capitol steps at 12:30 for an event to dedicate Michael's monument and recognize the importance of the cause. The striking silhouette of Michael Wargo is currently on display on the main Capitol steps. Many of you may have seen it when you came in today, and I encourage you to step outside to see the memorial and take a moment to reflect. America's veterans are one of our greatest treasures, and the fact that 22 are claiming their lives per day is nothing short of a national tragedy. 22 is a number, but each one of those numbers is an individual. It's a husband, a wife, a father, mother, daughter, sisters, brothers. These heroes have served us proudly and bravely, and we owe it to them to provide support and resources to help stop this devastating problem. I'd like to take a moment to recognize a few of my special guests that we have here today who have joined me. If you could please rise, and if we could hold your applause till the end. I'd like to introduce Pastor Jed Smyrda, Mike Kessel, founder and vice president of Mission 22, a Green Beret who served with the 3rd Special Forces in Afghanistan and currently serves with the 19th Special Forces. Gold Star mother Karen Mojecki from TAPS, Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, whose son Wesley Hinckley was killed in Baghdad, Iraq on April 2011. Veteran Mark Bayless, founder of the Valor Clinic Foundation. Luell and Linda Gower, friends of the family, and Michael Wargo Sr. and his wife Sally Wargo. I thank you for your support and the work that you're doing to bring awareness and alleviate the suffering of our veterans. Thank you.
Members and guests, I'd ask that you please stay standing as able, and if we could close the doors of the House. Representative Heffley, would you mind if you could please restate the names of the 3 Pennsylvanians that you had earlier mentioned, because we're going to have a moment of silence for those individuals.
Mr. Speaker, Michael Wargo from Carbon County, Nicholas Rodriguez from Northampton, and Michelle Langhorst from Pittsburgh.
Members, you may be seated. Guests, you may be seated. Thank you, Representative Heffley.
That's all the time we have for today's program. If you have questions about Mission 22 or other programs for veterans, feel free to contact me at my office or through my website. That information will be shown in a moment. Thanks for watching, and join me next time for Legislative Report.